Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this video, I'm going to explain about psychoanalytic theory based on the book Critical Theory Today by Louis Tyson. So, what is psychoanalytic criticism? The definition is psychoanalysis is a theory that explains human behavior through early childhood experiences, especially within the family. It argues that who we become as adults is strongly influenced by what we experience as children. People often repeat harmful patterns in relationships and behaviors not by choice but because they are guided by the psychological conflicts they are not aware of. These patterns stay hidden in the unconscious, and the main goal of psychoanalysis is to bring these unconscious patterns into awareness so they no longer control their behavior. Psychoanalysis was developed by Sigmund Freud in the late 19th and early 20th century. Freud introduced key ideas such as the unconscious, repression, defense mechanisms, and the dream interpretation. His work focused on how childhood experiences shape adult personality and behavior. Later, this theory was expanded and challenged. One of the most influential was Jacques Lacan, who reinterpreted psychoanalysis through language, culture, and the social structure, rather than focusing only on psychology. The central concept in psychoanalysis is the unconscious. According to Sigmund Freud, an Australian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis, humans are guided by desires, fears, and conflicts they are not aware of. People may not get what they consciously want, but they often get what they unconsciously need. Now, these hidden motivations shape the actions, choices, and relationships without the individual realizing it. The unconscious is formed when the painful memories and emotions from childhood are repressed or pushed out of awareness. Repression does not erase these experiences. Instead, they continue to influence behavior from below the surface. Because unresolved conflicts remain active in the unconscious, people often repeat them. For example, someone who lacked love from a parent may later be drawn to emotionally unavailable partners, hoping to finally receive the love they missed. Even when people understand their past on a logical level, they often still struggle to see when the same patterns are repeating in their lives. Psychoanalysis aims to make these unconscious patterns clear so the real change can happen. For this reason, psychoanalysis views the family as central to psychological development. A person's sense of self often formed through the roles they believe they had in their family, such as being the perfect child or the failure, or maybe the unlovable one. Conflicts like sibling rivalry or competition for a parent's love are normal stages of development. Problems arise when individuals do not grow out of these stages and continue to repeat them in adulthood, often through unhealthy romantic relationships. To protect themselves from emotional pain, people unconsciously use defense mechanisms. These defenses keep painful thoughts and feelings out of awareness. Common defenses include denial, avoidance, selective memory, displacement, and projection. Another important defense is regression, which involves mentally returning to earlier experiences. Fear of intimacy can also function as a defense, allowing people to avoid reopening old emotional wounds. When these defenses fail, anxiety appears. Anxiety often reveals main psychological issues, such as fear of abandonment, fear of intimacy, low self-esteem, unstable identity, or unresolved attachment to a parent. These issues are usually connected. For example, low self-esteem may lead to fear of abandonment, which then leads to fear of closeness. Together, these issues shape how individuals see themselves and form relationships. The aim of psychoanalysis is not to make psychological defenses stronger or simply help people fit into society. Instead, it tries to weaken these defenses so real psychological change can happen. Even without therapy, people can learn about their unconsciousness by noticing repeated patterns in close relationships, especially romantic ones. Dreams and creative activities also give access to these unconscious because they come from parts of the mind that are not under the conscious control. Dreams play an important role in psychoanalysis. During sleep, mental defenses weaken, allowing the unconscious to appear. The underlying meaning of a dream is called the latent content, while the part we remember is known as the manifest content. After waking, people may further change or forget parts of the dream through secondary revision in order to avoid discomfort. Dream symbols do not have universal meanings and must be interpreted within the dreamer's personal context. Psychoanalysis also examines themes of death and sexuality. Fear of death is closely linked to the fear of abandonment, since death represents the ultimate separation. This fear can lead to people avoiding intimacy or deep emotion or even life itself. Sexuality in psychoanalysis is not judged morally but understood psychologically. Sexual behavior reflects emotional needs, power, guilt, and fear of closeness. Freud's ideas about sexuality must also be understood within the present historical and cultural context. In psychoanalytic theory, there are two major branches commonly used in literary studies: classical Freudian psychoanalysis and Lacanian psychoanalysis. Classical psychoanalysis focuses on childhood development, family relationships, sexuality, death, trauma, and repression. It explains adult behavior as the repetition of unresolved childhood conflicts formed in early life. Beyond Freud, Jacques Lacan developed a different form of psychoanalysis that focuses on language and culture. Lacanian psychoanalysis argues that the unconscious works like a language and that human desire is shaped by social rules. Lacan introduces key ideas such as the imaginary order, the symbolic order, the real and object petit a, the lost object of desire. The imaginary is the world of fantasy and illusion, where the self feels complete and whole. The symbolic is the world of language, law, and ideology that organizes society and gives us identity. The real refers to experiences that cannot be fully explained or put into words, and often appears as trauma. In literary studies, psychoanalysis helps readers understand how unconscious conflicts appear in stories. Classical psychoanalytic criticism focuses on characters' psychology, family relationships, repression, trauma, sexuality, and death. Lacanian criticism, in contrast, focuses on how texts are structured by language and ideology. Rather than treating characters as real people, Lacanian critics examine how desire and meaning function within the text itself. Some critics question whether it is valid to psychoanalyze fictional characters. However, psychoanalytic critics argue that characters represent real psychological experiences. Analyzing them is no different from using feminist or Marxist criticism, which also treat literature as a reflection of real human struggles. In conclusion, psychoanalytic literary criticism uses literature to examine unconscious desire, family conflict, fear, repression, and identity. It helps readers understand how deep psychological patterns shape both stories and human behavior. Rather than judging characters morally, psychoanalysis asks a deeper question: what hidden forces are working beneath the surface of the text and within ourselves? So that is all for my video on psychoanalytic criticism. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.